With such a high unemployment, youth unemployment rate, one must emphasize, this has to be a welcome initiative.
I think it's a welcome initiative and a much needed initiative. There are a lot of agencies across the country that are doing work on youth employment, but with 5.9 million youth out of work, roughly a third of our youth population, we need something scaled, something national, and something really well thought through that amplifies current projects.
Is that something that the government and the private sector, I suppose, are particularly, do they care about the fact that there are so many initiatives out there by people who are really trying to do something about this crisis? Do they care? Do they embrace those initiatives?
Yeah, I mean, the goodwill that we've experienced, this is a business-led initiative with the support of government. I don't think that it is possible to not care. I think the proportions of this unemployment rate, if you're ignoring them, your understanding of economics is probably limited. If we look at the Arab Spring, Tunisia, they had unemployment levels way lower than South Africa's, just pre-Arab Spring. So, this is our future workforce. These are 5.9 million young people, a third of our future workforce that are sitting at home, not getting any experiences, not getting any education, not getting any training. We call them NEETs, not in education and training. 56% of those entering the labor force each year don't have a matric certificate. So this is an economy that is diverging. Right? I mean, we see this in our Gini index. We see this incredibly high Gini or inequality for those who don't understand the Gini number. And this does not bode well for economic growth. Inequality is probably one of the biggest stunters to economic growth. So, you can't have businesses that operate and thrive in a country where society isn't healthy or unstable.
Well, I mean, I get what you mean, that no one can afford to not care, but it does seem so. Perhaps we are, docile as a people. In other words, we don't stand up for the right things to be done if it is indeed true that, for example, business has been sitting on trillions of rands, that it is not reinvesting back into the economy. If we have what we've seen, from the Gupta leaks, if what we've seen with regard to state capture is anything to go by, it means that we have been sitting around and doing nothing while those who could do something have gotten away with it.
We're starting to talk about human behavior. And if most people are comfortable in repetitive day after day, I go to my job, I come home. And this is probably why it is important to rethink, to wake people up, to drive the awareness. A lot of people don't know how big this number is. Often also we hear lots of stats and we start to sort of deafen ourselves to what those stats are. We do become numbed. Your word complacent is right. And this is why these national initiatives are needed to ignite, to catalyze, to sort of wake people up to the importance of reinvesting. And it's about telling the story again. This presidency, in February, we've been working. This came out of the CEO initiative. This is 2 years ago, when the CEO said, let's work towards improving the economy. We're facing some dark clouds ahead. And then, of course, there was a big hiatus. Things, were very quiet. And we were working towards an agreement with government, particularly the DTI, on a reward or recognition through the codes of good practice, which was taking an incredibly long time. And in February this year, with new leadership, we've suddenly seen sort of fires spreading and a lot of movement and momentum. So yes, the human nature is to ignore, but I think the new leadership is starting to set standards that are different around performance and around delivery.
Well, let's hope that indeed continues. And of course, other initiatives that are meant to address the problem of youth unemployment, like the NYDA, do also come on board, perhaps in more forcefully than has been the case before. Thanks very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you.